If you're like a lot of players, you find short forehands very frustrating. You get in positions within points where you're on top of the rally, you've done a lot of things right, and then you get that theoretically easy ball, and for some reason you're just not able to execute, and you either send the ball into the net or it goes sailing long. And there are a number of different reasons for that, but in this video I want to focus on one of the key things that prevents players from being able to consistently attack short forehands. So hopefully you find the video helpful. If you do, it'd be great if you give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel before, much appreciated if you could do that as well. So the key element I'm talking about is your ability to quickly and accurately read the flight of the ball so that you can get set up in the right position. Because there are two very common problems with players trying to hit these short forehands. The first one is they get too close to the ball. And then the second one is they overrun the ball and they end up hitting the ball late, even though they've got a lot of time on the shot. And both of these things come down to your ability to read the flight of the ball effectively so that you can set up in the right position and in the right time. So we'll talk about kind of how to address those or how to think about them. Obviously, you're going to be in some kind of rally situation. Maybe I've just been in a forehand to forehand rally. I've hit a good deep ball, and then my opponent has hit a weaker ball, and I've recognized that it's a weaker ball. I know that I'm going to have to move forwards. There's now going to be kind of two calculations. The first one is, do I look like I'm going to be taking this from a lower position or a higher position? Because when the ball is lower, we're generally going to be hitting from a neutral stance. So we're generally going to be ending up side on, and then I'm going to be hitting from a neutral stance, and it's either going to be a hop step or it's going to be a pivot step, and I'm going to keep on running through. So I've got to kind of figure that out, because if I'm hitting from this neutral stance, I'm going to be relatively close to the ball. Or if it's the hop step, I'm going to be relatively close to the ball. So I have to make that calculation as the ball's coming towards me. Where things tend to go a little bit more wrong is when players are going to need to take the ball higher up. Now, if you're really skillful, it is possible to do this higher short forehand from a neutral stance, but for most players it's probably easier to set up in some variation of an open or semi-open stance. And when we do that, we have to set up further from the ball. So where it goes wrong so commonly is players, the ball's bouncing up and they get way too close to the ball, and that messes everything up. So you have to factor that in as you're moving towards the ball. Does it look like I'm going to be taking it from a neutral stance, in which case I can be a little bit closer? Does it look like I'm going to have to take that from a semi-open or open stance, in which case I'm going to have to make sure that I'm the right distance away? And then you have to think about the way that you're preparing and setting up and finalizing your preparation, because where it goes wrong is it's a hard calculation to make. The ball's coming towards you and you're running towards the ball. So this is happening, and that's why players tend to overrun it and they tend to end up hitting the ball late, even though they've got loads of time on the shot. So you have to be making that calculation and prediction as the ball is coming towards you. So when exactly do I need to kind of check my speed? When do I need to finalize that preparation so that then I can start my swing at the right time, bearing in mind the ball's coming towards me and I'm coming towards the ball, and I want to make contact out in front to be efficient. So thinking about that preparation, stepping forwards as you finalize the unit turn. So if I'm moving forwards quickly, I step with that right leg normally, starts the process, and then I'm side on. I've got my hips loaded, I'm then ready, and maybe I go from there, or maybe there's another side step or shuffle. But making that calculation, what does that need to look like? Same thing if it's an open stance. Still thinking about the flight of the ball, and it's probably going to be, you're probably going to have to slow yourself down a little bit further away than you expect, because most players are overrunning it, so you have to kind of recalibrate that. So I step across with that left leg or right leg, the left leg comes in, putting me into the open or semi-open stance, and then I'm into there. So again, you're making that calculation, recognize the flight of the ball. Okay, I've got to set up a little bit further away, and then getting it. And potentially you might need to practice those footwork patterns as well. So you're reading the flight of the ball, you're practicing stepping in. What does it feel like to do that? And then what does it feel like to do that? And it's just a case of setting up your practice to give you enough repetitions. And this is where I really like ball machines, because you can just set up that short ball and you can get a lot of repetitions to practice the footwork patterns, to practice the spacing, and then that's going to really increase the likelihood that it's going to happen during matches. So that is the key element that most players need to figure out. There's the on-court side of things, but then we also have to factor in an additional consideration, and that is how well your visual system functions and your ability to accurately read the flight of the ball quickly and effectively enough, because you have to make those calculations that I've just described. You have to understand how to use the footwork patterns. Yes, we've got the biomechanics, but if you can't accurately read the flight of the ball because your visual system doesn't work well enough, it's always going to be a self-limiting thing, and it's going to prevent you from ever being able to consistently attack these types of balls. The good news though is you can actually train and improve your visual skills using brain-based training. And if you'd like to learn how to do that, I'm going to be able to teach you that for free in a live event that I've got coming up pretty soon. This is a 5-day Neuro tennis challenge. You get to come and join me for free for 5 days, and I'm going to teach you how to improve your vision, which is going to be really important for reading the flight of the ball, the balance, which is really important for everything, and your coordination, which is obviously the final piece for being able to control the angle of the racket face and the swing mechanics, etc. So I'll place a link to this free live event down in the description. Click on that link, it'll take you over to a different page where you can learn more about it and potentially register. Okay, hopefully this video has been helpful for you. Best plan is to record yourself playing a match or playing a practice session so you can find out what happens when you get a short ball. Try and identify, are you struggling with either of these two problems? Do you have a habit of getting too close to the ball, especially on these higher options? And do you have a habit of overrunning them? If you do, then work on the stuff that I've described here and potentially explore the visual side of things. Okay, thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.